Welcome to This Week from Blue Mountain Broadcasting. I'm your host, Lynelle Ellis, and I'm delighted that you tuned in for the program today. Today, I'm going to be interviewing our content delivery manager, Lowell Mann, who is going to share with you the most exciting thing that has happened at Blue Mountain Broadcasting in the past number of years. And this is not hyperbole, it really is. And so please stay tuned for that part of the show where you're going to hear something really exciting. And then we'll have some more station news as well. But let's begin now with our devotional thought. Today, I thought we would look at a very familiar parable and an interesting one. It is given to us 3 different times in the Gospels. So 3 out of the 4 Gospels tell this story, and they all describe Jesus explaining the parable as well to his closest followers, the 12 disciples and others, probably the women who were along and helping to support the ministry. Jesus doesn't expound on or explain most of his parables, so this one feels like a pretty unique situation. What parable is it? It's the parable of the sower. Let's read it from Mark's account. Again, Jesus began to teach by the lake. The crowd that gathered around him was so large that he got into a boat and sat in it out on the lake, while all the people were along the shore at the water's edge. He taught them many things by parables, and in his teaching said, "Listen, a farmer went out to sow his seed. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched, and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants, so that they did not bear grain. Still other seed fell on good soil. It came up, grew, and produced a crop, some multiplying 30, some 60, some 100 times. Then Jesus said, 'Whoever has ears to hear, let them hear.'" That's from Mark 4, 1 through 9. Imagine you were in the crowd by the lake. Try to think what it would be like to have never heard this parable before and to be wondering what it might mean or represent. Interesting thought? Those of us who live here in the Walla Walla Valley can easily imagine this scenario. Think of a wheat field that is just starting to grow tall, like we see right now here in our valley. Well, a number of years ago, when my kids were grade schoolers and we were living in Tennessee, we made a visit to Washington State and came to Walla Walla in June. Coming from Tennessee, our kids did not remember ever seeing a wheat field before. We were walking along Wallula Road near Martin Field, and there was a small wheat field growing next to the road. Suddenly I realized that the description Jesus gave of the sower was taking place right here in front of us. So we stopped and talked about this parable with the kids, and we looked at the seed that had fallen on the rocky places and among the thorns and on the good soil. So I can just imagine that as Jesus told this parable, the people around him could either immediately see or had recently observed this exact scenario with seeds and soil. But they didn't know what it meant. They didn't understand how to apply the parable. So Jesus' close followers came to him later and asked him about it. And here's what he answered. When he was alone, the 12 and the others around him asked him about the parables. He told them, "The secret of the kingdom of God has been given to you, but to those on the outside, everything is said in parables, so that they may be ever seeing but never perceiving, and ever hearing but never understanding. Otherwise they might turn and be forgiven." Then Jesus said to them, "Don't you understand this parable? How then will you understand any parable? The farmer sows the word. Some people are like seeds along the path where the word is sown. As soon as they hear it, Satan comes and takes away the word that was sown in them. Others, like the seed sown on rocky places, hear the word and at once receive it with joy. But since they have no root, they last only a short time. When trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away. Still others, like seeds sown among thorns, hear the word, but the worries of this life, the deceitfulness of wealth, and the desires for other things come in and choke the word, making it unfruitful. Others, like seeds sown on good soil, hear the word, accept it, and produce a crop, some 30, some 60, some 100 times what was sown. Now, it's probably important to note that when Jesus said they'd be seeing but not perceiving and hearing but not understanding, he was quoting Isaiah the prophet. And rather than being a prescriptive statement, it was a descriptive statement, describing what was literally going on as the Messiah was in their midst teaching them. People were choosing to remain blind to the truths of God's kingdom rather than actively seeking the truth through Jesus. And then Jesus went on to clearly explain the parable, and it makes so much sense. And again, I would not say that this parable is prescriptive. It is descriptive. It's not that God is keeping anyone out of the kingdom. On the contrary, he is trying to woo everyone into a close relationship with him. But the parable does clearly describe what we see around us and in our own experience. It ends up serving as a cautionary tale. Plant the truths of God's kingdom into good soil. Ask the Holy Spirit to soften our hearts. Like good soil, we can be soft so that we will really be ready to grow toward God's kingdom and not let the cares or the distractions of the world choke it out. So even though we may have heard this parable many, many times, it is good to review this deep message once again. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Joining me now is a familiar face here at Blue Mountain Broadcasting. It's our content delivery manager, Lowell Mann. And Lowell, it is great to have you on the show today.
Well, glad to be back.
And it's especially great because you have something fantastic to share with our audience that we've been working on. What is it?
So we're looking at putting together a brand new app for Blue Mountain Television. It's something that we've been looking at for quite some time, and so now we're finally in development phase on this specific project.
And it's super exciting. And there have been some reasons that are very serious reasons why it's been delayed that mostly have to do with what it costs to develop an app, or OTT, over-the-top technology, what it costs to develop that and then to even maintain it year by year. Just share with our audience what it cost, what we thought it was going to cost to do this sort of thing per year.
Yeah, so last fall I started doing some research into this exact project, and it looked like it was going to cost about $30,000-$40,000 a year just for us to maintain, to build the apps and then have it maintained by another company.
And that felt prohibitive, really, because when we think about our whole budget for the year, $40,000 added to it would be absolutely gargantuan.
Yeah,
we're a slim operating ministry, so.
So at the beginning of the year, you're looking at the funding, and you're kind of like, yeah, I'm not sure this is going to work.
And that felt discouraging to us initially because we know that in today's world of the way people access, in fact, I wish I had my phone on me right now, but I never bring it on set because, oh, you have yours.
I
Good.
have my phone right here.
Illustrate with it. I never want mine to ring or something. But, you know, we, all of us, I think, at least I know my generation and lower at least, we use this device to look up programs, to go to apps where we want to see something. And we can either watch it on our smaller screen or we can cast it to a larger screen.
Exactly.
And we have our smart TVs that we use. And so there are fewer and fewer people watching broadcast television, which is what Blue Mountain Television is. And we're also on cable, but there are fewer and fewer people watching on cable.
Yeah, and so as we look at the landscape, we know this is the direction that a lot of the viewers are headed, and so we want to make sure we're jumping on this bandwagon.
We got to be there where they are so that we can share this good news and the good message.
Absolutely. And so, like I said, last fall I started doing the research, and it was just...
Yeah, we didn't know how we could do it.
We didn't know how we could do it. I put the project on the back burner, and then this past April, our chief engineer, Zach,
Zach.
went to NAB, National Association of Broadcasters, down in Las Vegas, and he goes systematically through all of the halls. There's gigantic
Yeah, we
space
should really
there.
emphasize what a huge event this is. There's just everything related to broadcast and content delivery.
Yeah, from
Football
the
field
engineering
size.
side to the I think I heard one year that there was over 1 million square feet of exhibit space. That's how
Yes.
huge this place is. You get a lot of walking in. And so he went through, there's 3 big halls, and so each day he was going through a different hall. And finally on the last day, he gets towards the end, and he goes back to a hall that he had gone earlier in the week. And this is where a lot of the OTT providers were.
Yes.
And one of them caught his eye. And so he went over there and he talked to them. And this is like an hour before the show is
Closed.
done,
Yeah.
closed for the year
Uh-huh.
until next year. And he brought all the material back to me. I started doing research into this specific company.
I think it's
and
okay to say which one it is,
yeah,
probably.
Lightcast is
Yes.
the name of the company, and it just looks like it fits way better than any of the others that I researched. The ones that I researched in the fall were great. They would do what we needed to, but we just couldn't afford it.
Sure.
This one is about $6,000 a year.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, compared to the 40
Yes.
that we were talking about, $6,000 a year, and it even gets better than that.
Yeah.
Because as you're doing the research, it actually costs for them to develop each app.
Yeah, now just take a moment to describe when you say each app. It's not
Yes.
just one app. How does this work? It's cross platforms, right?
Correct. It's cross-platform, so each platform has its own app.
So name some platforms we're talking about.
So we're talking about Apple TV, the mobile, like we were just talking about our phones, the
Yes.
mobile. So for Android and iOS,
Yes.
there's Roku. We already have a Roku channel, but Lightcast will update the current one so it'll look like all the others. There's Amazon Fire TV.
Yes.
And then also our web app. So our BMT.TV will get a huge makeover as well. So that's 6 apps that's being developed.
So basically, any technologies that people are using, just about,
Yeah,
are
just
going to be
about.
covered by this, where you would be able to watch it on a smart TV or using your device.
Yeah, absolutely. And so those apps cost quite a bit to have them
Set up.
developed and set up. Each one has a different backbone, so it's another thing where it costs for each one. Some of them are $1,800 just to set it up. Others are closer to $5,000 to get set up. It just depends. And so you start doing the math to get everything set up is
Expensive.
$20,000 to $30,000 just to get everything set up, and then it's the $6,000 beyond that.
Yes.
Now, the good news, they decided to do a special at NAB where they were going to sponsor the development of all the apps.
So you wouldn't have to pay for the setup part.
So all 6 apps that I just listed are going to be developed for free for us.
So incredible.
So that's $20,000 that we don't have to come up with to build these apps, which
Now
is
we just have to worry
amazing.
about the annual.
Yeah, just the annual $6,000, which is considerably less than it would have been.
And
with
there's
the
a
other.
little bit more to this too, because we also wanted to be able to be in contact with the people who are using our app through the subscription
Yeah,
service.
so we're wanting to set
That's
up.
an additional fee.
That's an additional fee. You're absolutely right. So there's a subscription service that we're wanting to tack on, so people have to sign up, similar to when you go to Netflix or
Sure.
Disney Plus or
you
any
don't
of
have
those.
to pay anything, but
Yeah.
But we could be in contact then.
Yeah, we can be in contact and all of that. That's $1,200 per app to get
Whoa.
all of that set up. So there's 6 apps, and you got to set that up 6 different times. So that's about $7,500.
And we thought we were going to have to pay that part.
We did, but I noticed there was some language that there might be some sponsorships for that. So when we decided to move forward, I asked about that. And when I got the contract back, that was listed in it as well.
Covered
As part of the
through
part of
their
the
scholarships
to their
or sponsorships.
sponsorships. Yeah, so that's Now we're at about $30,000 that we don't have to pay to get everything set up. All we're doing is the $6,000.
Okay, so right now, if I'm a viewer, or even if I'm me, because I was me in this, as we talked about this, and you start going, when something sounds too good to be true, it usually is.
Yeah.
So we were doing, some research into the company and that sort of thing. This company is not some small startup company. They've been involved with some big apps in the past.
Yes, they have. They built HBO, their
HBO
apps.
app.
They've built Amazon Prime apps and Hulu. Those are 3 mega giants in the
Yes. So
media
they know
world.
what they're doing.
So they know what they were doing. They built these apps. Of course, those companies have moved off and have their own teams working on it now. But this company built those apps. They are very familiar with the structure and the setup of them.
Yes.
And so they're taking all that stuff that they learned and baking it into our apps. And they're catering more to the faith community. Because if you look at some of the current people that they have,
Yes.
they have a lot of
Faith-based
organizations as a part of their system. So it's pretty cool.
And I wonder about their name too, because it's Lightcast. It sounds like something really good.
Yeah.
So this is just, I'm hesitant to just throw the word miracle around.
Yeah.
This is amazing. It feels miraculous to
It
us.
certainly does.
It is one of the biggest things that has ever happened at Blue Mountain Broadcasting, and certainly one of the very biggest in the last few years. It's huge for us.
It's huge, and I'm super excited to see where this goes. So we are in the process of doing all the development for getting all the apps set up, which is going to take some time. I'm hoping by the end of the week we can have everything submitted to them so they can start building the apps.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that the switch is on and now it's
online.
working.
Yeah.
They said.
So how long?
They're saying 4 to 6 weeks, and it could be different apps could be set up sooner. So my guess is by mid to late July we'll have everything up and running.
Which is pretty good,
Yeah.
When but before summer is over, we expect that we're going to have the Blue Mountain Television app running. Now, that's not the name of the. I'm saying that because Blue Mountain Broadcasting, and of course, we mostly are known as Blue Mountain Television, although the organization behind is Blue Mountain Broadcasting Association. But what are we going to call this new over-the-top technology?
Well, we thought about Blue Mountain Television.
Yeah.
I mean, we're a television station. That doesn't really fit the streaming portion, which is essentially what this is. A lot of organizations are using the plus tag. And
yes, we said maybe a little overused.
Yeah, we didn't feel like we wanted to go onto that bandwagon. But we came up with a name. We had a staff meeting and we were kind of discussing it. Blue Stream is the name that we have decided to go with. So that's Blue Stream presented by Blue Mountain Broadcasting.
Yes. So Blue Stream, I've tried Blue Stream out on a few younger people and they like it. So I hope that it will be a catchy name that people will love. And we've already been working, Elaine, working with us, has been working on it, designing a logo for it that we really like. So.
So it's moving forward. Now, the reason behind the name is we're Blue Mountain Television, Blue Mountain Broadcasting. We kind of wanted to bring that over, and then it's a streaming service. So Blue Stream.
Yes.
And then, of course, there's also some biblical connotations there as well.
There really are. I mean, when we hear Ezekiel's description of God's throne and some other places in the Bible, it's sapphire, it's blue. So the foundation is blue, and also there's a little hint in the book of Numbers and through Hebrew tradition that the stone tablets that Moses put the law on were actually made of that sapphire stone. So that would be blue, and then we know that the Hebrews and Jewish people still today, when they have their tassels on, they have a blue thread in them that represents God's law. And of course, that's built into the sanctuary service too. So that's biblical. Blue in a lot of ways is really cool. And when you think of water in the Bible and a stream,
we're talking about the river of life.
Yes, and the living water and all of those things. And so stream is also the flowing water. So I think that's kind of a fun thing about the name too.
Yeah.
Well, Lowell, we are out of time, but I'm so glad that you stopped by the show today to share with us about this. Super exciting.
Yes, it is.
And stay tuned. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Time for station news. Well, we already talked all about the app and the new development of Bluestream. So that's number one on the station news. But also, mark your calendars for the last week of September, which is going to be premiere week on Blue Mountain Television. And especially you want to be looking for our brand new show called Hometown. That's just a little teaser for you. Now, more about programming coming up on the station. Graduation. Walla Walla University graduation is this Sunday on Blue Mountain Television live and starting at 8:30 a.m. So mark your calendar for that. And also camp meeting. Always a looked forward to sort of event here on Blue Mountain Television. And it will begin on June 14 at 7 p.m. And Blue Mountain Television is going to carry all of the evening meetings featuring our main speaker for camp meeting, Carlton Bird. So you want to mark your calendars for 7 p.m. June 14, and those are going to be Wednesday through Saturday, each evening at 7 p.m. Also, the church service on Sabbath morning, 10:45 a.m. on Saturday. And just wanted to let you know also that we're going to be having the main speaker along with Carlton Bird is going to be David Jameson, and that will be for the church service. So David Jameson is our conference president. And finally, just a note that even though if you happen to see a schedule for camp meeting and see that there's going to be an afternoon concert with Fernando Ortega, we will not be able to carry the Fernando Ortega concert because of the contractual arrangements that the Upper Columbia Conference has with him. So you just have to be there in person in Spangle, Washington if you want to see that one. But all of the rest, all of those other evening programs and the Sabbath service carried on Blue Mountain Television for camp meeting. All right, well, I want to thank you again so much for your support, your prayers, your financial support, which is absolutely essential, and also for telling other people about Blue Mountain Broadcasting. Thanks for watching today. See you next time.